coming to you live from Alameda, California, in the mobile Zig Zone. Give it up for Ralph Zig Tycho.
Thank you, Paulie B. I am back. You are comfortably zoned with me in the zone. And I'm happy to be here. Happy to be anywhere at my age.
Yeah, we're just happy to be live and kicking, sir.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. And we're still kicking.
That's it.
We have a terrific show. Nancy Finley is the first guest, and she'll be on momentarily. Peter Golenbach will join us in the second hour, and I look forward to the show. Two of my favorite people in the country.
Oh, there you go. So let's jump right in. How was your weekend, Zig?
My weekend was good. Kind of warm in Alameda, but I'm getting used to it.
Right. So what did you do for your weekend? It's the Memorial Day, right?
Well, I hit some balls off the tennis wall.
Oh, there you go.
How about that?
Still
can do it. Still can do it at 77, and I'm proud of that.
And you're on the injured list, though, today. You're on the injured list.
Hammy as a result, but that's all right.
Yeah, it's not my idea. The only kind of hammy I like is Moons Over My Hammy. From the Denny's, you get that ham sandwich. Yeah, but yeah, exactly. So.
All right.
So, no Dancing with the Stars right now.
No Dancing with the Stars, but you have a Willie Mays clip to show us.
Yes, I will show that at some point. Absolutely.
All right. And you're well. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm just chasing my tail. It's a regular Tuesday. I almost had to.
I have no idea.
Colin's here. Colin's he's actually my he's my
co-engineer.
Yeah, co-engineer, but I was also trying to say the person that I have to go to a lifeline, I'll go to Colin here.
That's what I'm saying. You said I just got here, but I actually never left. I live here in the studio now.
Yeah, he currently lives here in the studio. Just about.
Colin, nice to work with you. We really appreciate having you.
I love being here, Zig.
All right.
So did you watch any baseball over the weekend?
Did I?
Yes.
I watched. I did watch. What was it? The Giants. I forget. I'm a little zoned.
You're a little zoned. Well, that's a perfect time to be in the zone.
There's a pun intended.
With the pun intended. There you go.
And all right. I've got the place, the mobile studio closed off the light so that it shouldn't get hot. And we're ready to go.
All right. Well, we're waiting for Nancy to pop in here. She has not popped in yet.
Okay.
And so we're going to keep kibitzing until I find out where she's at.
Showbiz.
All right.
Kibitzing.
How about this? How about I talk to Colin for a while and find out how he's doing?
Absolutely.
So, Zig, you just smoked a bowl before the show. What strain you smoking today?
Oh, there we go.
Hello.
We got Nancy. All we had to do is start talking about something else, and we got Nancy.
There
right?
you go. Perfect.
I was fooling around with my gadgets.
Okay.
Gadgets and gizmos.
Good news and bad news. I'm glad you're here. Mike Heath couldn't do it today, but
well, what happened?
He's got a lesson with a client, and we put it off till next week with him. But we'll talk to you, and I got a lot to talk to you about.
Okay.
All right. So introduce your guest, and away we go.
Nancy Finley, daughter of Carl, and I would say second cousin or niece of Charlie Finley of the A's.
Niece.
And
it's a Southern thing.
Pardon me?
It's a Southern thing because I realize older people in the family all call themselves aunts and uncles here. So it comes, yeah. That's.
So you consider him an uncle?
I do. He's always said Uncle Charlie. His kids call Dad Uncle Carl.
Okay, then I don't have to apologize for my messing up that.
No.
Okay, that's good. Lack of
still have-
apology, lack of reasons to apologize is my goal.
Are you in a limousine?
I am in the mobile studio. It's a what it is. It's a BMW station wagon.
Nice.
Looks important.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Nancy,
How
we're
are you
only
doing,
we're only getting about
Nancy?
half of your head. If you can point your camera down for us, if you would be so kind.
That now that I got this on, now I need to figure out a good place to put this.
A nice little book could probably hold it up.
There we go.
Oh, there we go. There's your lovely face.
All right.
I've
All
got
right.
that. I don't have much on here. Okay.
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 This is Edge Studios. You can dress a little racy.
Yeah.
I could go get green or something.
Well, the worst thing is I just realized I didn't have my game green on. I'm currently wearing orange.
Hey, I can see I adopted that as one of our colors because of the baseball.
Right. Because of the baseball, the orange baseball, correct.
That's nice of you to say. And let me tell you, if the Giants and A's had cooperated and at the time they needed a stadium, have the A's play half the games or home games when the Giants are on the road until they got it settled, then we wouldn't have all this problem. And if had the Giants reneged on their insistence on being the only team in town, it would be good for baseball as well.
I'm surprised the Giants were able to vote on whether the A's leave because they're so close. That seems like a conflict.
Well, it has been a conflict since the start. The Giants have territorial rights, at least they think. That hasn't been and won't be tested in court. But it would have been better for baseball to keep the Bay Area rivalry alive. And let's go back to 1989 to prove that. Both teams were drawing like 2-3 million, and they played in the World Series. It was the most exciting time in the Bay Area. And
I emailed you something I saw in some on that. You don't need to. That's okay if you haven't seen it. It's not for this show anyway. I just wanted.
All right, for this show, I want to talk about your dad, and I want to talk about the fact that he was promised admittance into the Oakland A's Hall of Fame. It didn't come up.
Well,
tell me about that.
Charlie, I was told that Charlie would be the first inducted in the first year, 2018, and Dave Cavall looked really excited about it. I was excited. So I have to admit, I just figured that Dad would be next in the non-player category, executive category.
Right.
And so then after that, a year or two after that, COVID hit. Okay. Then when it looked like things were back to normal, I see Steve Vucinich in that category. And gosh, I mean, no offense, but I remember when I first met him, and he was always, to me, he was someone that Dad and Mr. DiMaggio had hired. They were on their way to lunch, and he was there being interviewed, and he was hired. I remember Dad saying, "Yeah, you can have the job." It was
That's interesting. Let's talk about Joe DiMaggio and your dad, their relationship. And Joe DiMaggio actually worked as a coach for the A's.
yeah.
It was a pension thing, and his pension was being increased. Tell me some stories about the Yankee Clipper and
He and Dad saw
Um,
each other on a daily basis, so they would go to lunch, and then Dad told me about the Italian dinners. I call him Joe D. That he made for just the two of them, like on a Friday or Saturday night, when they could have been on a date, but they enjoyed their company. They had a lot. Their personalities were alike.
okay.
So
Um,
Charlie just talked to him on the phone or saw him when he came into town, but it wasn't a daily thing.
okay. Um, any stories about Joe DiMaggio personally that you could relate?
Just very. He's When I came out to live, he stopped coming out to the apartment as much. I guess my presence, everyone thought they had to just clear give me a lot of space. And but I remember him being very a gentleman, quiet, just like Dad. Um,
Yeah.
I just
Well, my brother was an accountant in the firm that Joe DiMaggio's represented Joe DiMaggio. I can't think of his name right now, but he would refer to not by names. He'd go, "Hi there, hey there." He never mentioned people by names.
my older
And
son's like that. Interesting.
yeah, hi there. Or,
Yeah,
uh, he was quite a character and one of the all-time greats in baseball. Let's face it.
he felt he liked his alone time with Dad. I mean, they must have had a lot in common to see how much time they spent together. And Dad, I found Joe's phone number in Dad's Rolodex,
Oh wow!
the phone number he had at that time.
You
And
should keep that Rolodex, that number as a souvenir.
yes, you're right. Thank you. Because I
Yeah,
often look in Dad's Rolodex and I write down the names I see. And I did. I wrote those names down. And it's just I don't know a lot of the people. I might have met them, but it's amazing to see it. But I know that he got along with Dad
good,
really, really, really well.
good. Nancy, what's your favorite memory of being in the A's organization?
Oh my gosh. Being with Dad, knowing
Good.
Dad was there, I felt very safe with Dad. I was very protective. Um, Dad didn't want my name mentioned, like when Hammer was made a VP. Dad didn't want that with me because we had a lot of kidnap threats. I didn't realize how many or how much that scared Dad.
Really?
Yes.
That's scary in itself.
My cousins were safe. They were in a suburb of Chicago, tucked away. Um, they were just within their own. They had their a large property. Um, it was different than where I was. I was in an Oakland public school, but Dad knew everyone in administration. I mean, they respected him. That nothing happened to me. I felt very safe.
Tell me how your dad and Charlie, we talked about this on previous podcasts, but never on Zig in the Zone. Actually, this is your first time on Zig in the Zone. Something came up with Morgan a few
Oh,
months ago, a tooth problem, and you had to cancel. Tell me about your dad and Charlie's relationship and how that was so unique.
well, they knew each other. They grew up together, and Charlie actually competed for my granddad's attention. It was interesting. So in the family, it's interesting. They both had younger brothers, but they weren't that close to them. How often have you heard of Charlie's brother?
I haven't heard
That,
much of Carl's brother at all.
exactly. His brother was in Texas, but Charlie and Dad just knew each other so well. But they could fight. They could, like, Dad quit when Charlie traded Rick Monday. And Dad didn't believe. I mean, it was known that you don't become friends with the staff because people move around and they can be gone. But Dad did become close to Rick Monday because Monday helped him move the team to Oakland, which was very hard.
Oh,
And
really? Tell me about that. How
Rick
that came to be.
Oh God. Well, I told you how we did not intend to move to Oakland. We didn't intend to move at all. Dad said they went into a meeting and then came out realizing they had to find the first place they could move into that was already built. And
Right.
that was Oakland. They had this stadium already built. It was the one Davis put up for the Raiders. Now the thing is, Dad didn't realize that the front office wasn't totally ready. But
Well, Al Davis ruined the complexion of that ballpark.
Oh, well, when he
Right.
came back,
when he came back.
that I remember. Oh, that was terrible. All the money they gave him. So, but we had been asked. They had told us they were going to come in and finish the front office. It was dreary. It was the lights, the subflooring. It was dreary, but we made the most of it. And then Dad. It's so difficult to move a team. Dad had to have.
And then set up a front office and hire people and what have you.
No one wanted to come out from Kansas City. So Dad actually gave our switchboard operator a massive promotion to be Charlie's personal secretary to get her to come out. Monty Moore came out. That's about it.
Wow.
Dad told George Toma if he didn't come out, he didn't think Harvey would work very well, and he was right.
Toma came out. Is that right?
No, Toma would not move out to Oakland.
People
love Kansas City when they're there, and Dad predicted that Harvey wouldn't work for very long without George's touch, and he was right. The people who came by and said they could fix Harvey didn't really work. So, so Dad stayed.
Go ahead.
So Dad and George Toma stayed in touch. In fact, George Toma is coming out with another book. I heard it's ready, and I gave some quotes.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Nancy, tell me about the relationship with Charlie and your dad.
Okay, back to that.
And why that works so well.
Why did that work so well? Well, Dad, I know that whenever we got together in Kansas City or we were out at his place in LaPorte and he and Dad had been traveling and they came back, Charlie's boys, first thing they do is start climbing all over my dad. He would play with them. That didn't happen with Charlie. He went straight to his office for the phone. So I also think that Dad wanted to think that he was doing what was best for Charlie's kids too. Because
go ahead.
Well, Charlie and his kids stopped speaking after 75. And so my cousins would call Dad to find out what was going on.
Okay. Why? What was the reason they stopped speaking?
Oh, it was the divorce, and Charlie felt that they took their mom's side, and their mom, he said, got a lot in the divorce. It was Dad said he went to Paul's engagement party with Charlie, and everyone stood to one side. He said it was certainly a split. He could feel it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it ended up being me, Dad, and Charlie. I mean, that's the only family Charlie had.
Without being modest, unduly modest, do you think the A's would have won 3 world championships and 5 division championships in a row those years? Do you think that Charlie could have kept it together to have succeeded in that manner?
Without Dad?
Without Dad?
Oh no, I don't think they would have even come to Oakland, because Dad he lived wherever the team played. So we moved to Kansas City. I found checks with Dad's name on it with the stadium address and on several bank accounts. So he was actually doing so much there, and he'd made friends. Dad's friends never really knew Charlie because Dad made friends on a day-to-day basis. He saw these people.
Could have your dad stopped the fiasco with Catfish Hunter and the way he was not treated so much, but a payment was made on an annuity or wasn't made? And could have your dad, under different circumstances, saved that from happening?
Well, Dad used to get on Charlie about paying late with everything. Charlie paid that way with Catfish every month. That was not new. It was like if you have a 2-week extension up for the 1st, some people will wait till the 14th. That's what Charlie did. And Dad told him he needed to stop doing that. And then also, after we won 2 years, Dad would point out men to me who he thought were standing around waiting to talk a player into letting him be their agent. I remember that. I called them Men in Black. And Dad could point them out to me. And it seemed to get more that way. The more we won, they wanted to get a player to themselves and say, hey, you can I can get you more money. You shouldn't stay here. So what happened with Catfish is there was a new agent, and that agent found a loophole that if something that wasn't paid on the 1st, that Catfish could get out of his contract. And it was obvious that Charlie did that. Charlie stopped. There were times Charlie wouldn't listen to Dad. And then something like this would happen. And it did.
I'm so sorry to jump in here, Nancy. Is there any chance you can lower your camera just a little bit? We want to see your whole face there.
It's my laptop. Sure. I have it sitting on something. Is this better?
Just bring it a little down. If it's a laptop, just bring it a little forward to you. We're trying to get your head nice and centered. Can you tilt it just a little bit more towards you?
So you can grab the top of the screen and bring it down.
Toward me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Almost. There.
That's perfect right there.
That's better. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right,
Nancy is still very pretty.
Oh, thank you. Even in this heat.
I saw some pictures of your daughter. She looks so much like you. It's incredible.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and she's a knockout.
You're so sweet. You're so sweet. Well,
I am. A lot of people don't realize that, but Sweetness used to be my middle name. That's how sweet I was. Hey, Nancy, let me show you a souvenir I have. I don't know if this comes through.
Oh, we're seeing
This is a bat signed by Bert Campaneris, who was a dear friend of someone I've mentioned to you many times. He was the A's spring training doctor in Mesa.
Oh, yes, you mentioned him.
He's Craig Pearson, and he was my old camp buddy. And at times, when he came up to visit for an A's event, he would bring Campy over, sometimes for the night, sometimes just for the day. And he was, I'll always remember this, he's the one that named my son Philip Phil the Thrill.
That's a great name. That's fantastic.
A great name. And I thought that Campy was terrific. Can you tell me some stories about your interaction with Campy?
He's wonderful. When we're there, we just want to sit there and all sit close to each other and just.
There were times his English wasn't all that great, but his spirit was terrific, and you'd sit with him and feel better.
I know. Doesn't have to do with his talking. In fact, I know
Right.
that whenever he's asked to go down for an interview, he acts like he'd rather stay with us and eat the food.
That sounds like campy.
I have something to show you. I'm going to bring over part of my. I'm going to put this on the wall somewhere. Can you see it?
Oh,
wow.
There it is.
Okay, yeah. It's a Beatles ticket. Yeah, I'm going to put this on the wall.
That's cool. So is that the one from Kansas City?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, thank you.
We talked about that last time. That was kind of the foray into becoming a marketing magnet.
Yes, in fact, I have the one for Campy, the ad we did for Campy in '65 that it's in my storage now. I need to bring that out. I'm still unpacking.
From Texas, in Texas.
Yes, unpacking everything I brought. There were just too many boxes. I wanted to mention that with Dad did, Charlie couldn't work on site. And I remember hearing when the White Sox were for sale, and some people said, oh, maybe Charlie will buy it. And Dad said, well, that's fine. I'll just go back to Dallas and resume my education law career. And he can do that because Dad he acted like he might have to get back to his other career. He didn't think that we would do what we did. And so Charlie was always, he'd always call Dad and ask Dad what was going on, what did they need to do. And it got to where Dad could predict what Charlie was going to say. He could predict how Charlie would answer.
Wow.
It amazed me. I wore something out to dinner with them once, and jeans were in style. That's when women were wearing skirts like jeans. And Charlie said, no, Dad said, Charlie's not going to like that. That's going to remind him of his youth when he didn't have a lot of money. I said, oh, Dad, jeans are the style now. Sure enough, Charlie made a little dig about the jean material my skirt was in. So Dad could predict how he thought.
Yeah, like that's all he had to worry about.
Yeah. But with Catfish, Dad tried. He tried, and sure enough, it bit him. It came back to bite him. I really think that could have been, I don't know, when I was with Catfish and he had his diagnosis and we were in the private gathering, there was a tear. Everyone had a tear in their eyes, and Catfish kept wanting to autograph something for my son, and I said it wasn't necessary. He couldn't move his hands. His hands are still at his side.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was even before the press conference. But they had a private meeting, and I have a picture. I was the only photographer. I have a picture of Dad holding an orange baseball with talking to Catfish, and the guys are hanging around Dad. But it was just really beautiful, and it didn't look like they had wanted to leave each other.
Nice.
Yeah.
My best friend, oldest friend in the world, Marty Rose, who is a big part of the Comfortably Zone network, was recently diagnosed. He's in his late 70s with ALS, the same
Really?
disease we're talking about, and it is a tragic way to go. And
I wish they had. I wish there was a cure. I mean, by now.
Yeah, for a lot of things, but not the least of which that. And we are all in mourning. Life is not the same, knowing that. And
how is he? How is he doing?
He's. How are you when you have ALS? He's coping, and he's getting good treatment. Fortunately, he was a veteran, unfortunately, it was probably caused by Agent Orange, had something to do with it. But he's getting good treatment from the veterans. They come in, they come to his home on a regular basis, 5 days a week, and take care of him. His one of his daughters is a nurse, so she can help fill in on the weekends. It's just a tragic and a mind fuck. Let's put it that way. Don't know what to do.
Maybe they have something that can alleviate what happens, the progression.
Well, they're doing the best they can. He's at a stage where it's leveling off in a sense, but still progressing. The disease is progressing, and it's horrible. So I'd like to just say on the air once again that we love you, Mert, and keep going. When Catfish died, I think he fell down the stairs. Am I correct?
6 weeks after that private meeting. Yeah. Yes.
Oh wow.
And he could still walk. He just did. I can send you the picture. He just could not use his hands. They were straight to his side.
That's
and he kept wanting to autograph something for my son. Oh my gosh. And that wasn't, that didn't matter. No one needed it. I told him.
I found with autographs, it's me with the sound of our voices. With the people, instead of an autograph, I have conversations. But sometimes just an interaction is better than an autograph, because it puts people on an equal footing if one doesn't have to ask for another people's autograph.
That's true. And no one was there for an autograph. That was not. I had my son with me and let him bring a little friend, but they knew to stay quiet and not ask about that. And they were thinking that anyway. It was just a very solemn, precious time.
Well, it's like it's like losing a part of your immediate family.
Yes, I mean, but the guys looked like they really loved each other, were a family, and never wanted to be apart. I mean, you could just tell that Catfish just had wished he'd had more time.
I think what the A's players had in common is that, sadly, they didn't get along much with Charlie. And
he was like their he talked to them like a very stern father. You can imagine him. Like,
just what's needed and I'm putting that in quotes, from the boss trying to be the father. But tell me about the Mike Andrews thing. I think that's the one thing that sticks out.
You want me to talk about that? I talked about it in Finley Ball, but not a lot. But I've had people ask me if I could write more detail, and I thought that what I wrote might be sufficient, but I realized I did put some things in that I should have. Like,
is there anything you can think about that you wish you would have put in the book? Or
I have it in part 2 now.
Oh,
but that's okay. What I saw was there are some myths about that. One is that he was fired. Is that what you heard? that he
Right.
was. Did you hear he was fired?
I didn't hear he was fired, but I did hear that it was very difficult for him to play for the A's after that.
Well, no, I have his original contract. It was from August 1st to the end of the season, just in '73. That's it. And this happened in Game 2, I think, of the World Series. So how much more was there to the season? And he wasn't fired, but also he did have a disability. And what happened was, after he made those errors, Charlie called downstairs to ask for his medical file. Every player is supposed to go to the doctor on the first day. So Charlie finds out there's no medical file. They're looking everywhere. So that caused the snowball effect. Andrews was told downstairs to report to the doctor because he still owed us an exam. He wouldn't go in. So that took another 30 minutes. And people at the party downstairs kept asking me, "Where's your dad and Charlie?" And I would run back up to find out what was going on. And he kept saying nothing was wrong with him. He didn't need to be seen. So, I mean, if anything, he needed it, like every other player has to do. So he went in and saw our orthopedist, who had great credentials. And the orthopedist found something that was chronic. It was from his past injuries. And the reason that Charlie was suspicious was because Andrews was not scouted by us. It took 4 phone calls with Charlie for Andrews to be hired. And Andrews kept calling Dick Williams and asking if we could hire him, and then Williams would talk to Charlie. But whenever Charlie called him, Charlie would ask him, what's wrong with your play? Because Charlie said he made errors in a playoff with us when he was with the White Sox. But Charlie saw it on TV. So Charlie just thought something wasn't right. And he kept telling Charlie he was fine. Nothing wrong. He was ready to play. So what happened is, when he made those errors, I know Charlie was thinking about those phone calls because it wasn't that long before. And Charlie wanted to know what was found. So the doctor found something that was a result of having a shoulder injury. He had several wrists broken, other things that had been broken. But I took all this out of his deposition from his own words. And what happened, Charlie knew that it was worse. I mean, for him to have that, it would be better for him to go on to the DL. And he just did not want to be on the DL. That's what started it. He kept saying he didn't want to sign a lie. And then he said, "Oh, the doctor, nothing was wrong with him. He shouldn't be in there. He didn't know why he was there." And Charlie told
it doesn't sound like what was wrong with him was a current injury.
It was no. It happened. No, it was from his past plays. In fact, in his deposition, he talked about having something broken when he was with the White Sox, for several things, and then with the Red Sox, something he was hurt. So it had to do with that buildup. I don't know what you call it. Dr. Walker had it, but all Dr. Walker said was he should rest for the remainder of the season, and that was wrong. It was not long. In fact, we were Game 2 in the World Series. How much more was there? The most it would be 5 other games.
Right.
So what happened was, when Charlie told him to get his signature on the DL form, but if he signed it, it would go faster. And he just did not want to sign it. And he finally said, "Give it to me, I'll sign it." So he somehow thought that was going to make it public, but it was just going to the commissioner. Then he said he wanted to go home. He didn't want to get on the plane back to New York. He wanted to go home. And Charlie asked him several times, Charlie said with your teammates for all support. He wanted to go home. So he went home, and then the next day at a press conference, he hired an attorney at a press conference at the door and sent a press release to me, which we never saw. And then said that our phony baloney doctor wrote a phony baloney report. I felt bad because I knew that orthopedist. He had a very good reputation, and no one ever asked to see his credentials. And so when Kuhn had him reinstated without having the doctor see him, which I mean that we could on that. But what if he had been injured because he went back down? So when Kuhn had him reinstated, he seemed to think that Andrews didn't have any problem because Andrews kept saying something was wrong. But
Nancy, let me break in.
Yeah.
You mentioned Dick Williams, and Charlie and Dick didn't get along very well. Dick won a championship.
He was great. Well, he was great. And see, Charlie thought of himself as friends with Williams. He liked Williams. And how this started was Mike Andrews called Dick Williams in his office because he remembered him from the Red Sox days. And he wanted to ask him if he was being lied to by the Braves. The Braves had given him an excuse on why they couldn't hire him, and so had the Yankees. And he didn't trust him. He thought he was being lied to. So he called Dick Williams. And before they even talked about it, Williams asked how he was doing. He said, "Oh, I was playing DH with the White Sox, but they had reduced his salary by 20%. He said it was because the GM didn't like him." So he said, "Well, maybe we could use you." That's all he said. Maybe we could use you. But he said, "The roster is full right now, so it would have to be a DH." So after Williams said that, Andrews kept calling him. Just kept calling him. And finally, Williams asked Charlie, "Can't bring him in." It's late this season, so Charlie did that because Williams asked him to. And I think what happened was Williams had given his 30-day notice because he wanted to get out this way and just get out of the club. But when the Andrews happened, the press was just rabid. Also, I felt bad because Williams was in the middle of it too. And in the deposition, an attorney asked Andrews why he was so afraid of going on the DL. Andrews said it would work. But apparently, see, we were never into baseball gossip, and neither was he. So apparently, other teams knew something that we did not know, and they were giving him excuse because Dad talked to the GM.
Hey there, Nancy. Sorry to jump in here. We're having some technical difficulties with the audio. Hey there, Zig. Do you have headphones available because the audio's in a feedback loop from your phone, so it's getting reverbed double time over here, and it just like we can't hear anything now.
I sort of heard that.
Thank you.
Nancy, you're fine. You're doing great. It's we just need a Zig. You got headphones for you?
Can you put on your headphones, Zig? Do you have them handy?
I don't. Well, I do have them right here.
Because when you talk, Zig, we hear you pretty clear, but when anybody else talks, it feeds back through yours.
Oh, okay.
And so here, let us carry the conversation for just a minute. Well, actually, either way, it's
still gonna come back through. So if you just pop those headphones in and then
plug in
clear audio.
Nancy, let me ask you this: was there any major disagreements between Charlie and?
There. I made this.
Oh, no, he muted himself.
That's the question.
Oh, there he goes. I'm sorry. Try that again, Zig.
I think just with the microphone.
Are you with me?
Yep.
Yeah, we're with you.
Okay. Nancy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Major disagreements between Charlie and your dad over the course of time.
He quit. Dad quit because of the Rick Mundy trade.
Okay.
Dad
And
quit.
he came back after that, of course.
And how did he, though? I always wondered, because Charlie wasn't the type to call anyone and apologize or say he was wrong. But Charlie, the office was calling Dad all the time, and Dad received $9,000, a $9,000 advance from Life magazine just for his story from the 1960s.
Wow.
And then we flew to Kansas City, and some man in overalls paid Dad $3,000 in cash for an advance, a very small advance. And so I don't know what was in Dad's book. It was before computers. But what happened was about 6 months later, Dad had a midnight call, and it was Charlie, who acted like he was calling someone else. And then next thing I know, Dad's laughing. Charlie starts telling jokes or something, and that's how it happened.
They had made up.
Yes, yes. So Charlie needed Dad. The office, the office was falling apart, and Charlie. Also, this was because Charlie had bought the Seals and the basketball team, and acted like Dad was going to partner with those. And Dad said their goal was baseball, and that was just muddying the waters. Dad told Charlie. Dad used to try to put Charlie back on focus. That was one job he had. It was easy to get Charlie off focus.
Okay. People don't realize what a genius Charlie was in some ways. Charlie he came up with the idea when he himself had tuberculosis and was confined to the hospital. He had a lot of time to think, and he came up with the first disability for doctors, group disability. And if I'm not mistaken, that's how he gained his initial fortune.
It is. It is. Can you imagine all those premiums coming in?
Absolutely. And it took a while to find the carrier and pull it off. Besides what Charlie did building that team, and he doesn't get enough credit for putting that team together, he was an all-out genius.
Well, there's a book that came out after mine. I don't know why, but the man says that Charlie had no ability to build, and the only way we succeeded was Charlie talked to people on the phone to get their opinions on what he should do. I mean, the book is so bad, and I still see people talking about it on Facebook, and I don't know what to do. It's really bad. And this man never called me. I reached out to him to introduce myself, but he never called me and asked me what it was like in the office or anything. So I don't understand his reason. It's Jason Turbo, if you know him. He does, yeah, I don't know why he wrote that. I just have no idea.
Nancy, tell me about Hammer.
Hammer, yes. Hammer was sweet. Hammer impressed Dad because of his manners, and he kept saying he wanted to work as like an intern type, and he had so much energy, and he
Hear
was
that, Colin? You could be an intern too.
Yeah, I mean, Hammer said he would work for free, so Dad said, "I'm going to pick Charlie up at the airport. We're going to come up here." Dad always parked at that top between the arena and the stadium, and so Hammer knew they were coming up, and he impressed Charlie the way Dad told him to, because Dad needed that extra help. Hammer could go in the locker room. I couldn't. Hammer was a good runner.
Yeah.
And then yeah.
What's your favorite memory of all of this, besides working with your dad?
Well, I know how hard Dad worked also to keep the team going in the late 70s. I watched Dad help rebuild that team. It was Dad and Charlie talking to our offsite scouts to rebuild that team in the late 70s, which actually ended up being most of the roster for 81, the playoffs. And I know we didn't realize how good we were, but Dad talked Charlie into selling because of that lawsuit we were served in 79. And one of Dad's
And
lawsuits,
free agency had changed baseball too.
yeah, it had, but we were rebuilding even with after free agency. We were going to high schools, prisons, stuff like that, and we still rebuilt, but we weren't talking to the press. And so people were asking what's going on. Why isn't Charlie around now? When Charlie doesn't call people, then they wonder. But and the managers we had were more for in looks only. I mean, for title only. It was Dad and Charlie were rebuilding, and I was amazed at how fast we were able to do that, even after free agency, because Coon was always watching. Coon was watching to see if we had a big name. So when I saw us get to the 81 playoffs, I was just it was nostalgic because I thought, wow, this is what we're really good at. And I mean, that was amazing to me because in the 60s, it took much longer. That Dad and Charlie didn't know what they were doing at that time. They were learning as they went.
Nancy, tell me about your second book.
Oh, well, that's what I do. In my second book, I start with the December 1976 trial in Chicago when Coon blocked Charlie's trade because some players were getting ready for free agency. Their contract was up. So Coon blocked the trade. So I talk about that. I quote from Jerome Holtzman's book, and then I talk about how well Denver was only a very brief time as far as I was concerned. That was over by February 78. That was not happening. That did not happen. And I mentioned that, and then I just talk about how we rebuilt. We rebuilt. We didn't talk to the press. We didn't want to be under a microscope, but we were rebuilding. And then we were hit with that lawsuit in March of 79. And the lawsuit just doesn't make sense. It talks about how little we drew, our attendance. We're supposed to keep attendance up. We're supposed to. I mean, it says we don't do anything with the boosters. And here I have a plaque from the boosters to Dad. I mean, I have things that contradict what I find. It talks about how we don't have any giveaways, but we just did something for a Holtzman bobblehead. So
let's talk about him for a second. Excuse
yeah,
me. He just passed away.
I know.
That we are losing everybody, family, friends. It's horrible. But tell me about him.
I really bright man. I when I hear that name, I think of him with our series. He was one of the ones, the cog. I mean, he helped it run. He helped us win, and we didn't. As far as I saw, we didn't really have standout stars. They worked as a team, a family.
Mm-hmm.
I had someone say to me last week, "What was up with you?" Because when Gene Tennis came in 72, all of a sudden his career went up and he started playing better. What is up there? It's sort of like he was telling me that he was on to me, and he knew that our secret was out there somewhere.
Uh-huh.
But I just think I know that we did work as a team, and I can imagine. I know that Charlie was just so bad about not following through with some things that he said to people, and it seemed like once his divorce happened, he depended on Dad even more. He was he seemed clingy with Dad, just very needy. It's sort of like Dad took the place of his wife. But I remember my mom saying that she blamed Charlie for their divorce. She thought Charlie was jealous of her, and because he wanted Dad to himself. So
Wow.
it was an odd dynamic.
Yeah, he was a strange character, Charlie.
Hmm. And if Dad had a girlfriend, if Dad brought a girlfriend to some social event, Charlie would make a play on her, and while he was married,
Ah,
but his wife wouldn't be there. But it was odd. I used to wonder why. Isn't he afraid of what his wife might find out? But it's like he was always competing. It sort of reminded me of what brothers are like, but to an extreme.
yeah. It must have been a strange time for you meeting all these personalities. You were 15, 16 years old when.
I was 12. I just turned 12 when I came out.
Whoa, I thought it was later. Wow.
No. And my birthday, Dad had it at a place called the Casuals at Jacqueline and Square, and no one under 18 was allowed in. And Dad was friends with Danny Morona and Stan Christo, and I remember they took me in the back so they could sing Happy Birthday to me.
Danny Morona was an East Bay entertainer, and he played up in Tahoe. Am I correct?
He did, yes.
And Danny Morona had either a wife or an ex-wife who was a bartender at Big Ben's in Danville. And she was hot, if I remember correctly, because I was a young guy, and I had those memories.
The only wife I met, I think, was his second wife.
Oh, well, I'm sure there might have been more, but
yeah.
Anyway, I can't think of her name, but Big Ben's was a terrific bar to be a kid in and to be Jewish, because Ben was Jewish, and he'd say, "I don't care if you're Jewish, you're going to pay that bar tab someday." Ben was a character. The Bay Area, the East Bay Area, was terrific in those days.
It was.
Weather's about 10 degrees less or higher than in San Francisco. It was a there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A great poet once said, "There is no there, but that's Oakland." Hey, listen, Nancy, I want Paul to call Peter Golenbach.
Yeah.
Who is a guest in the second hour, but I want you to stay to talk to Peter Golenbach
for
a while. So if Paul can ring up Peter Golenbach, if that's possible.
Yeah, I'll try to do that right now. Give us a moment, and we'll jump right back. Hey, guys, we're going to take a little break here, and we'll be right back after this with Peter Golenbach, Nancy Finley, and the Zig Man himself. We'll be back, guys.
Nancy, you are charming. I've known that for years.
All right, guys, it's time to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Okay.
right, we're in the player's box. That's what we're doing. We're here in the player's box. It's me and Colin in studio. What's happening, Colin?
Can't complain. A lot of technical fouls, and that's why we're trapped here now.
It's okay. We call foul balls in our business souvenirs. So that's what we're doing. We're going to be joined by, I see Peter's joined us. We got Peter Golenbach. We have Nancy Finley, and we got Ralph Zig Tyco jumping in anytime. Hopefully they jump into the zone here. Thank you for hanging out with us, Peter. I do see you there. I'm going to wait for the other people to.
You're not very loud, though. I don't hear you very well.
You don't hear me very well. Uh-oh. Well, we'll have to change that a little bit. Can you hear us a little bit better now?
That's a little bit better.
Test 1, test 2, test.
All right, there we go. Well, and hopefully we got Zig coming in, and then you guys can talk directly. Tell us a little bit about what you've got going on.
Is there something I can do to make my sound sounder?
Absolutely. You could probably turn up the volume. I'm not sure.
Pump it up.
Pump up that volume. Let's see if we can help you out. We're waiting for
a pair of earbuds may also help you out a bit, or headphones if you got them.
All right, we're getting closer. All right. Hopefully they join us in the call.
It's Zig in the zone, and we're missing Zig.
That's it.
We're zagging right now. It's a shame I know nothing about baseball for this baseball podcast, but I've been to a few Tigers games. I do love the sport.
So are you in the Detroit area?
No, we're actually in the San Francisco Bay Area.
San Francisco Bay Area. But I grew up around Detroit.
Why is he going to Tigers games?
Well, that's my hometown. I got to root for where I was from. But I'm out in San Francisco now. I'm all about the Giants. I do love them.
So these were the Tigers of 1997.
Oh, Tigers of 2011.
We can only hope we're back. But you guys need to actually hang up this call and pick up the other one, because we have to put you guys all in one group. So I'm going to hang up this call, and I'm going to call you guys again, but you guys should all pick up. All right, here we go. All right, we'll try it again. Peter, I'm going to call you right back, buddy. Here we go. All right, we'll try this. Take 12? Something like that.
We're getting there.
We're really getting there. Okay. So if we do this right, we'll have Nancy, George. George might even be there.
Silent
Peter Golenbach, Nancy Finley, and Zig. Let's try this again. Let's see if we can get everybody in at the same time.
Silent drum roll. Let's go.
Silent? No, we'll just use the phone ringer. There we
go.
There's Peter. There's one.
Real trooper.
All right. Hoping that the other two are gonna pick up. This is gonna be interesting. I think they're still on the other one.
Do you think they're still talking?
I still think they're talking on the other one.
Oh dear, because we can't hang them up if they don't.
So this is what we can do. Oh, this is going to be interesting. All right. All right. So I hate to do this to you again, Peter. Sorry about this, buddy. Thanks.
I'm just sitting here. You can do whatever you want.
You got it. Thanks.
Oh, someone's calling something.
I'm going to call you right back.
All right.
All right. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna try to add you guys. Yes, sir.
How we doing?
We're waiting for you to join the other call, so I'm gonna add him to this one weirdly. Hold on. So, guys, this is what we do, right? Oh my goodness. Let's see. It says I can add members, and I'm gonna add Peter, and let's see what happens.
Let's pray.
Let's pray.
Like the sacrifice candles, and we'll sacrifice one of the construction workers making all the background noise.
All right, so let's see if this works. All right, guys, here we go.
Live.
We are live. That's live what we're doing.
San Francisco.
Live in San Francisco.
In Texas.
We are alive in San Francisco. So we can only hope this. Now we can only hope Peter picks up this head. We love it. We love it, folks. I don't know why Peter's not picking up the other end, and when we call you guys on the other phone, you guys don't pick up. So
I'm learning how.
Oh, I know. You guys
just,
are doing great. We're so proud of you.
I do have to ask Nancy and Zig, were you still on the previous call while we were setting up the other things? Because that may have backed us up a bit. No? Okay, perfect.
All right.
That was my suspicion personally. But
all right. So
we're figuring this out. Just gotta wait for Peter to pick up.
Peter did not pick up. So we're really waiting for Peter to come in here.
You know what we're going to do? We're going to end this podcast and make it 2 separate podcasts when Peter calls back.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll try this again. And we'll be back after this, guys.
Yeah.
Love baseball so much.
I'm telling you. So, guys, we're going to do this. We'll be back after this. We'll come back with part 2 of Zig in the Zone.